Hi, welcome to Blacticulate, a podcast series featuring UK young black professionals, where we find out how they do what they do, so you can too. Or not. After all, it is your life. Hi guys, it's Ade here, and we've got a couple of announcements. But first, we'd like to take a moment to tell you how much we appreciate you listening to this show and building a community that we feel, and please, I hope you guys agree, is raising the tide of black excellence. Everything we do here at Blacticulate is because of you, and we truly rely on you not only to help spread the word, but also to keep us in check over the quality of services that we are providing you. Things like our podcasts, things like our workshops, as well as our events. So starting this month, Blacticulate really could do with your help. We will be hiring for a few job roles that might be of interest to you or perhaps somebody you know. If you head over to blacticulate.com and under the job section, you will see the vacancies that are available. Check it out. Please get in touch. If it's not right for you, then it might be right for someone else. So remember, do share, do spread the love. We just really want to grow this community and make it better and better and better. Now, today's guest is amazing. Ashanti Bentil-Dhue. She's a virgin startup mentor and business consultant that specialises in the food industry. And no word of a lie, Ashanti knows her stuff. God, does she know her stuff. And she's graciously tells us how she started her platform, as well as what we ought to consider before starting a similar platform, or specifically we're looking to get into the food industry. So without further ado, I bring to you Ashanti. Welcome to another episode of Blacticulate. For those of you who don't know what Blacticulate is, how dare you? How very dare you? But Blacticulate is really and truly a podcast series that features UK young black professionals, where we try and find out how they do what they do, so you can too. So we've got Ashanti in the house. What? Say what at least. What? Wow, okay, cheers. That feels forced. So Ashanti, you're going to have to tell my audience who you are. Am I saying your name right? Ashanti Bentil-Dhue.
Yes.
What a name.
Yes.
Where's that from?
Half Ghanaian, half Jamaican.
Are we not meant to be able to mix? When I say we, we're talking African to Jamaican.
I know. I do get that a lot, actually.
Yeah, the Romeo and Juliet.
But that story ends badly.
Wow. Okay, so tell the people who you are, and then let's roll from there.
Yeah, okay. Sure. I'm Ashanti. I am a business consultant, virgin startup mentor. And anyway, I just love all things food and business, which is why I help people start and grow food businesses.
You help people start and grow food businesses?
Yes.
Okay. How does one all of a sudden become a Virgin Media startup mentor?
Yeah.
Then going into the food industry as a vertical, teaching that. Was that always the dream? I wonder.
So it's quite interesting. So I always wanted to be a barrister.
A barrister?
So that's what I actually studied at university. I went to do law. That was always my childhood goal. So I never wavered from that. In fact, university was a doddle because of that.
Really?
Yeah. I wouldn't say I worked during my degree at all because I just absolutely loved everything I was learning.
Okay. Which uni did you go to?
London Met.
London Met,
yeah,
okay.
Stayed local, DLR ride. So went to London Met, did law, but by the end of the second year I did know that I would not go on to become a barrister.
Why is that?
Because I realised what I really liked about being a barrister was the self-employed element and the fact that there's a lot of variety. I don't know if they are now, but before you work for a chamber, but you have to kind of almost pitch for work and do all those. So there was a lot of autonomy as opposed to working with a law firm. And especially when you go through the graduate scheme and then you become a trainee, you're watched 24/7. And from the very beginning, they teach you how to kind of even clock your minutes to obviously get paid by the client. And I'm not really a follower. You have to be a follower to go through the grad scheme and go through the training contract period. And I'm not good at that kind of stuff. So I already knew that going the traditional route to become a solicitor wasn't for me. And then I realised that with becoming a barrister, that wasn't truly the whole essence of the role. Probably wasn't me. And I didn't want to do criminal law.
Why that as an angle? Because that's not something you grow up thinking you want to be. Is it?
In terms of a barrister, or
just was it an environment? Is it your parents? Are they into that?
So I was always very interested in the law because I like to know why things are the way they are.
Okay.
And so, when you study law, you come to understand how these laws came about, where they come from, but also you start learning how flawed they are in terms of real life. So some people are dealt with very harshly by the law and other people seem to abscond responsibility.
Let's be real. We're talking about people of colour here, aren't you? The law does not favour us at all.
Or any kind of minority, or I think underrepresented sector of society. Unfortunately, if you don't know how the law works, you can fall foul of it quite easily. And I'm talking outside of obviously breaking the law in its raw sense. But then there are other issues where I think because people have lack of knowledge, therefore they're not in control and they can't empower themselves.
You've got to give me an example. Because that is such a profound thing.
Well, something as simple that struck me when I was studying law, for example, if you don't pay your TV license, that is actually it can become a criminal offence. And I remember one lecture, the lecturer explained that the numbers of single mothers in prison at that time because they didn't pay their license. And obviously the knock-on effect of that is their kids going to care. So that's more actually burden on the taxpayer versus a £12.95 a month license. Was there no other way that situation could have been dealt with? So those things really did shock me.
Oh wow. What were you like as a child then?
I never had toys.
Siblings and stuff? You never had toys?
No, I'm not really. I was very much into reading.
Right.
Always read books and just worked really hard at school. My family are very studious and academic,
Where do you, what school, what area did you grow up?
So I grew up in Catford. South East London.
All right, Catford. Woo woo. Anyone listening from there? Ashanti is your peeps.
Just normal, regular environment.
How come she didn't have toys?
I just wasn't interested in them. My mum always says that I just didn't play with toys that much, really. It was books. You'd give me a book and I'd finish that within a day or two. I consumed books at a very fast pace.
And that's such at an early age as well.
Love reading.
Oh, amazing.
But again, I think it's all about power and being able to empower yourself through knowledge.
Right.
That's what I enjoyed about it, because you were always learning something that helped me kind of move forward in my thinking. And
did you share that knowledge? Brothers, sisters,
yes,
siblings?
I do. So I'm the oldest of quite a few of us. I think, oldest of quite a few of us. And I was the only girl until 10, 11 years between us. So I was the only girl for a long time.
Right. How many brothers and sisters?
So there's me, there's 5 of us in total. So my sister is the youngest. So, So,
was there any pressures, do you find?
Not really.
Because I know a lot of, my sister's the eldest of 3 of us.
Yes.
And she always felt, for some reason, this was not true, that she always had to look after us. I'm putting her underneath the bus. I guess
there is a responsibility with being older, and I guess if you're the first child, your parents, you're a trial run to a large degree, aren't they? So you could get the harsher side or the lighter side depending on where your parents are in their life when they have you. But it's interesting that we're all very different, and I think that that's a good thing. And because I did go a very conventional route, they don't have to.
Right, gotcha. So it's like, forget it, you guys, you can be experimental.
Do what you like, at this point.
So you get on well with your parents? How's that?
Yeah. We're very family oriented. My mum has really been the beacon of that. She loves family and all that it stands for, but in the true sense.
Is she a Ghanaian one?
So she's Ghanaian and Jamaican. So very interesting upbringing. So for me, it's been dual in many ways.
Right, gotcha. Okay, well, here's a thing I normally try and ask my guests now.
Okay.
I'm going to, it's a conversation, so I never really remember it. But I like always hearing stories about the first time you recall being black or other.
I really have to think about that, because I think that the first time I probably realised I was different, I think that's what I would say the feeling was initially. I don't think I necessarily realised it was because I was black, because at such a young age, I don't think you necessarily understand all of the things that come with that.
Yeah.
But I think you remember feeling different. So I would say that would have been in nursery, because I was the only black child in nursery.
Right, gotcha.
But I felt different because my hair was different, and obviously I looked different to the other children. And it was when another girl came into the class who was brown that I realised how different I was to the other children.
I see.
Yeah.
So you recognise you're in kin and you're like, wait a minute.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's what I'd say is the first time I realised I was different, because obviously outside of that in my family, I'm normal or just the same as everybody else.
Yeah, that makes sense. Can we join the dots then? Because all of a sudden you went to uni, London Met, to become a barrister.
Yes.
But you're not.
I know, yeah.
So what happened?
Yeah, so what did I do after university? What did happen? I needed a job when I finished university. So I applied to become an adjudicator at the Financial Ombudsman Service. So essentially, you're a dispute resolution professional in the finance sector.
So what, you literally have to sit in front of two parties and just say, no, almost like a divorce lawyer.
In some senses, yes. The customer or the small business would present their argument and all of their evidence, and then I would assess that argument and evidence, ask the financial institution for their response, and then make a decision as to whether or not we would uphold or reject the complaint. Right. So very similar in many ways to the legal background that I had. It was just in a financial setting. So I would definitely say I got kind of pushed to my limit in terms of, public facing work, because it was very customer service heavy. Right. As well. Yeah.
You're fascinating, because I still haven't joined the dots. So Shanti, tell me then, post this, because 3 years into it.
Yes.
I assume you're probably financially nice and stable, you're all good. Was it a risk for you to then decide, you know what, I'm going to forget this and go on?
So it wasn't such of a gap, because after that role at the Financial Ombudsman Service, I actually went to work for some bigger banks.
Oh, wow, okay.
So I went deeper into the corporate world, and that was a very steep learning curve for me, because the Financial Ombudsman Service is kind of, it's quasi-corporate, quasi-charity, because obviously you're doing public-facing work. Yeah. And so you still think about ethics and values and treating the customer fairly. Whereas in a corporate environment, yes, that's what some of these institutions should be doing. But the reality of being an employee in those corporate environments is very different. Yeah, and I hadn't really been in the thick of that before. So that was a steep learning curve for me, because in many ways I brought the values and ethics that I had into those roles. Yeah. But you're operating in an environment where not everybody lives by those values.
Yeah. I'm smiling because, albeit you're being diplomatic, I just know these scenarios and these scenes. Can you extract any stories without naming names?
People can be very dishonest. So what I mean by that is, in the public sector, there will be grades. Everyone will know what grade they're on, and they will know what objectives they need to meet under each of those grades. Some environments, they may have something on the intranet, but in reality, that's not how it works. And this is why I'm very passionate about what I do now, because I realized too late, really, the importance of personal branding.
Right.
So I was very good at networking, but the personal branding, I did not create a brand for myself within those big banks. And that's quite important in this day and age. Right. So I was somebody who was just very good at doing my job, and that's not enough.
Right.
Okay, so you can't just be a nice person. You can't just be good at your job. You need to understand how you build a brand around yourself in micro environments, i.e. your team or your department, so that you can leverage that to get promotions, for example. Right, yeah. And so that's what the steep learning curve for me was, because the people around me understood how to build personal brands, even though they weren't always very good at their job. So I was that person who would work really hard. I would pull that presentation together, move a project onto the next level, and not get the credit for it. And after that happens a number of times, you have to ask yourself why,
so much.
And start analysing what the differences are between the people who you're sitting next to, who really have less substance than you. And so I'm glad I did make that move from, kind of financial ombudsman setting into these big corporate banks and really experience the reality of working there.
Yeah, no, jeez. That's insane, because do you know who Neil Gaiman is?
No.
Okay, Neil Gaiman is like this, he's an author, he's a writer, and he has probably one of the best commencement speeches known to man, and I think it's called Make Good Art. And within it, he goes, it's very easy to continuously get a job, because all you need is pretty much 2 out of these 3 things. So the 3 things are: be on time, do good work, and be liked.
And if you get 2 out of the 3, then you're always going to get a job, right? So you don't have to do good work, but if you're on time and you're liked, happy days. But if you're not liked, but you're on time and you do good work, you always get work. So
exactly. But actually, to elevate yourself, you need all 3. And I believe that, I was just having this conversation the other day with somebody else, and I was saying that, I think that there are a lot of initiatives and projects out there that are designed to help young people make a transition from school, university into some of these corporate environments. But it's those elements that they're not teaching. So they help you go through the assessment, they help you, get through the interview. But what they're not telling you is the reality of actually working there. It's those hidden, invisible codes of behavior and practice that you need to understand very early how to leverage. It's not good enough just to pass the test. It's not good enough to be liked in the interview. And I think that's why a lot of people are not surviving the corporate world very long.
Interesting.
Because they haven't necessarily understood those skills and how they can leverage them within themselves.
Can you teach that?
I think you can.
And it remains authentic. This day and age, obviously, the new Gen Z or something, they're just pretty much all about PR themselves in the best way because that's all they know. So to me, that is their authentic self because that's literally all they know. But for someone like myself, slightly older generation, I almost crawl at the thought of putting my face
out there like that,
out there and just showing where I am, etc. Because why does that matter? Let me enjoy the experience then and then.
There's a number of elements at play here. It just depends what your goal is, number one, because I believe that there is a way to walk both sides in a comfortable way.
Okay. Explain more on that, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure.
Because you're teaching me here.
So I do believe there's a way you can do it by deciding and classifying what you're comfortable with other people knowing.
Right.
I think that's where it starts. It's like, okay, if I wasn't in the room and people were saying this about me, would I be comfortable with what they were sharing?
Ah, interesting.
Once you've decided what it is you want to share, then that's the image that you present on a consistent basis, of course, to build a kind of consistent personal brand.
Right.
That's how I...
No, that's absolutely perfect. I mean, I love that. If you weren't in the room and people said this about you, would you be okay?
Would you be okay? If you are okay with that and you feel that that represents you fully, and, let's bear in mind, some people don't mind negativity being out there about them.
Right.
They're not going to be bothered. And equally, that negativity may have been what's propelled them to where they are now. We know celebrities like that, where maybe everyday people would think that's not very positive, but they've been able to leverage that and elevate their brand.
I'm with you. Jeez. Okay, Ashanti. So we're now in a corporate setting.
Yeah.
What's our next move? I mean,
so
we're always joining.
Basically, that did not sit well with me.
Yes.
I didn't fit into that environment, is the truth. And that's exactly what I told my manager when I resigned.
Oh, was it a shock?
Yes and no. Okay. I think they were shocked that I took control of that process. For me, it was the well-being side of things. I was not comfortable. I felt that there was too much contradiction in my values and the values of the people that I worked with on a daily basis. Right. And that was evident in the things that they would say and do to other people.
Right, gotcha. So now that you pretty much resigned, I feel like, F this, I'm out of this place. What's our next?
So this is where it gets interesting. I went to another bank, and that decision was the one that I made out of fear, I believe, now looking back.
Or
probably some financial fear, even though the interesting thing about life is when you look back, actually, nothing worse could have happened than you make up in your mind. So I started a job that involved a 6-hour daily commute. And
jeez.
Yeah, and that's why I said I believe that decision was made out of fear and a combination of external voices saying, just take the job because it's a very good job, considering you've just left somewhere. And people thought I was crazy to leave the place that I was at before. So it was like, well, you've gotten this other job, it's equal, go for it. And so that's what I did. Wrong decision.
Right.
Wrong decision, because what I should have done at that point is really act upon the self-reflection I'd done in that previous job and start my own business, which was something that I'd wanted to do for years. Right. And of course, I'd just been comfortable in a very conventional, traditional model. And so, I went into a job with a 6-hour daily commute, and I would not do that again.
That is insane.
But what it did give me time to do was say to myself, no, you need to draw the line now, and you need to start making a living in a way that is healthy for you. And so that's how I transitioned into becoming a business consultant. I became a Virgin Startup Mentor at that point.
So what is that?
Yeah, sure. It's a relatively simple process. You go through, you can apply on their website initially, and then you have to go through some assessment. Obviously, they ask you about your background experience. They do ask you about your leadership style, your coaching style, who you think you can help the best.
Right.
And then you go through an assessment, and they come back and let you know whether or not you're qualified to become a Virgin Startup Mentor. So that's what I did, and
what's
that's
the
what I've been
benefit
doing.
of doing that, though? Do you get
To
financially? Do you get paid for mentoring?
No, it's purely voluntary.
Okay.
But for me, it allows me, obviously, to be involved in a wide variety of business and startups. So you can really be on the inside and understand what's happening. And of course, the coaching element is hugely rewarding because I am therefore building up my skills as a consultant in being faced with the kind of everyday business problems that my mentees are facing. And so from that perspective, it's very challenging, but it's also very rewarding. And I would recommend it's a good option.
Okay. So help us out. You're a business consultant.
Yes.
You've got actual niche, clients now?
Yes.
And your niche is within the food.
Within the food.
Food isn't necessarily niche per se, but...
Yeah, so there are different ways that you can help people who want to start a food business.
Okay.
So my business is, we have an element of group coaching. So I run masterclasses now on a quarterly basis.
Okay.
So if you want to start or grow a business, if you're between 0 and 24 months in your business, then there's a masterclass specifically designed so that by the end of that day, you come away understanding whether the food business is right for you.
Right. Where is this held?
So these are, at the moment, they're in London, but the interesting thing is we will be going UK-wide in 2018. So we will start... I always say we, because that's from my corporate background. But I do actually work with my mum. She works with me now.
Amazing.
But I always say we, because that is just literally the legacy of working in a corporate environment.
And honestly, apparently it's something that we ought to do, the royal we, because when you do grow, then it doesn't become a weird shift in communication and dialogue.
Yeah. But now this is an interesting point that I teach with my one-to-one clients. The personalization element of business is now ever more important. So people actually want to know who you are. And so, for example, on my website, I've had to change some of the copy to actually say I and not be in the third person because it's proved to be very effective. Doing things like a podcast, people are actually getting to know you. So that was a shift that I had to make mentally from the corporate environment when starting my own business.
Yeah.
Yes.
So apologies, I derailed you a little.
No, that's okay. Yeah. So we have group masterclasses. They're one-day masterclasses at the moment. So if you're 0 to 24 months, even if you are starting a home-based business, and I think this is quite crucial, market-based business, or you've actually got bricks and mortar like a small cafe or coffee shop.
So home-based business means you actually operate out of your home?
Exactly.
Marketplaces like market stalls?
Market stalls, festivals, that kind of thing.
Brick and mortar is like a retail
environment.
Yeah, okay.
Exactly. So we've got group masterclasses for those individuals. Now, interestingly enough, there are some individuals who may have actually taken their business to a certain point already. So they may be in multiple stores. They may be really successful. They're generating revenue regularly in their business. And so I have a one-to-one service with them because obviously at that point they don't need the fundamental kind of foundational steps. They actually need some bespoke help at that point. So they're looking at ways that they can continue to elevate their business. So maybe explore other routes to market. At that point, network is really important. So I can share some of my contacts with them for them to take their brand in different directions. Right. So we have that group setting and then we have that one-to-one consultancy.
How did you build
that process? Yeah. So how it all started was because when I really reflected, I always wanted a business and I naturally always wanted to have a food business.
Why food, may I ask?
Food is a massive part of my family.
It's life.
Exactly. And also when I think about my family and I think about my mum and my grandmother, hospitality is a huge part of our family. It runs in our DNA. So
yeah, I think you mentioned your fondest childhood memory was your grandma
and cooking
to you
and time. Exactly. And so those are the memories that I have of my childhood. So I always wanted to open a food business and use it as a hub, a base for hospitality within my local community. Now, you think to yourself, right, I've been in finance for so long, I understand what a business plan is, I've worked with small businesses before, I can do this. However, there are some nuances to the food business, and this is where those two, the self-reflection from my corporate career started to kick in, because you need a personal brand, you need network, you need community to build your business. It's not just about having money.
Personal brand, network, community.
Those are crucial elements. And so this time round, I decided, why don't I build a community around the food business, meet all of the right people, and then launch my business.
Okay.
Instead of trying to start a food business and then scramble to get the rest together.
Yeah.
And that has worked out very well. What are we now? We're 16, 17 months later. I've built a community of around 500 women who are all in the food and drink industry. That doesn't include the men that obviously are in the industry as well that I have contact with. And now I've got a good idea of all the different routes that you can take to market. I've got a good idea of the reality of what it takes to build your business up. And now I can start my business with a lot more confidence and the right elements. So I just kind of flipped.
I hear that.
The model, really.
So how did you get about having, I guess, your network of 500 people?
It all started by looking online. I would literally just Google different combinations of words and brought up every food entrepreneur there was. Right. And then I started putting them in lists. So I would look at, do they have a cafe? Do they have a food delivery business? All of the different categories of food business, I'd list them under that. And then I literally just spent time on LinkedIn messaging them all.
Amazing. LinkedIn was your...
Yes. So I only had a lazy LinkedIn profile. I had no personal social media. So that's all I could really start with.
Right.
And I would message them. And because I understood the importance of personal branding, so I didn't message them and say, I'm starting a business, can you help me? I messaged them and said, I'm interviewing food entrepreneurs to learn about how they do what they do.
Yeah, no doubt.
And of course, they love to talk about themselves. Most people do.
Yeah.
And so that's how the podcast show came about. So I just used it as a way to dig deeper, get under the skin, understand how they started their business, what were the challenges, the problems, and what advice would they give to other people who want to do the same.
It sounded like Blacticulate right about now.
Yeah.
So... are you profitable? Do you mind me asking?
Yeah, so we are nearly profitable now.
Okay. Why are you not profitable? I assume you're doing it from the house and consulting.
So I've changed the model. As I said, I do the masterclasses quarterly now, because before I would just put a masterclass on maybe every 6 to 8 weeks. But of course, you've got to do all that groundwork in terms of content marketing. That's huge to get people to trust you, to know you, to like you. And so I needed a longer run-off period in between actually holding the masterclasses. And so that's why I moved them to quarterly. And that gives me like 10 and a half weeks to build up enough content, not only on my site, but in the networks and the communities that I participate in. And so that's where this personal branding piece really comes in. Now we're 16, 17 months in, I'm starting to see that come to fruition now. So we're starting to benefit now from building this brand within this environment. And we are doing it in a very different way, because there are no other, in the UK, food consultancies who have a podcast show, for example. There are no other...
colour at that.
Well, that's a very good point. You know, I've spent quite a lot of time going to networking evenings and being dismissed or ignored. I think a large part of that is obviously they don't know who you are, but at the same time, they don't see that very often.
Yeah.
You know, there is no diversity from the consultancy perspective. As you know, in our culture, food is very common and popular.
Yeah.
The rate of food businesses that come from our culture is huge.
Yeah, 100%.
So I guess they're used to people maybe availing themselves of those resources, but not necessarily being the one to accumulate them, curate them, and then say, I have the authority and the know-how to actually teach you something. So it is very different. So I had to put a lot of groundwork in to build my personal brand, curate the content on our platform. So now we're seeing the benefits of that. We've just literally listed 2 of our flagship masterclasses, and now we're seeing that traction.
Amazing. So how are you doing that? Via Eventbrite?
Yes. Okay. Yes. So one of the reasons I've got it on our website, but I put it on Eventbrite because obviously it's a great search engine.
Yeah, guys, by the way, I will put in how to get in touch with Ashanti on our website. Show notes, as much as I can.
Yeah, so we have 2 flagship courses. One is Food Media Uncovered. And that really is about, you know, there's a massive popularity in blogging, but how do you actually make that sustainable? And obviously I've learned the hard way how to do that now. So that's something that I teach particularly to food bloggers, food stylists and food photographers. A lot of people are starting these things as hobbies. They do want to make them sustainable, but they're not sure how. And a lot of that is in the structure. Do you have a business plan? Are you building community? How do you ensure that you have a consistent flow of clients? I've learned all of that stuff the hard way.
I definitely need to be in touch with a dear friend of mine. She was actually a first ever episode on Blacticulate. Okay. She's a phenomenal baker.
Right.
And Nastasha Lusengo, Zimbabwe Born.
Was she recently on
the extreme?
I did watch.
Cake maker.
Yes.
So definitely to connect you.
Yeah.
Hey, not only are you both phenomenal, like you're amazing people. So yeah, there's got to be a lot of magic because she's actually. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, so I might ask her if I need to edit this out. Yeah, she's going to be in season 2.
Fantastic.
And for her, she wants to now know how she can leverage it.
That brand,
Yeah. I mean, we hear the challenges. How do people do what it is you do, but not necessarily within your niche? And
so how did they become a business consultant?
Yes. I almost want to give you the free reign and just as much advice
as I can give.
That you don't mind sharing.
No,
and we certainly will bring you back when people are like, Ade, Ashanti was lit. Why didn't you ask her this, that, the other? I have a food business,
Yeah. So you can come into the food business from any place, I believe, in terms of consulting and helping other people grow their business. You obviously have to have an understanding and knowledge of the business side and how the industry works and how you make A become Z.
Yeah.
Because people have a vision for their business, but then what happens is that they realize that they have to make compromises. So I'll give you an example.
Yeah, please.
You might start making a jam in your kitchen and you can spend an hour making that jam with strawberries that have been handpicked, which are not, genetically modified in any kind of way. So it's this amazing organic jam that is just magic. Fair enough.
Yeah.
You can sell that to your friends and family. You can take that to a market and sell it and still allow it to keep its original form. If you want to scale that up into going into multiple supermarkets and for that to be manufactured, now that's where the gap starts, because actually your original recipe may not
cater for that. Yeah.
Cater for that, exactly. So it's like, how do you get something from A to Z if you indeed want to be at Z? There are lots of people who just enjoy selling their jam in their local community, and that's the way they want to keep it. So it's those gaps that you need to understand, and you need to have the networks and the know-how to help somebody fill. That, I would say, is the difference between consulting in this area. And, a lot of my peers who are consultants, some of them have niches within that. So, for example, a fantastic consultant that I recently interviewed for the podcast, her niche is in-store market research.
Name drop. This is where we promote each other.
So Tessa Stewart.
Hey, Tessa.
Tessa Stewart, she has carved out a really interesting niche in that she does in-store market research, amongst other things, for her clients, and she works for big brands. And so she stands in store and she will survey people and ask them, why did you pick that up off the shelf? And that is crucial information that a business needs to know before it spends a lot of money on packaging, for example. Because if the customers say, I didn't even notice that bottle, then you may need to think about whether or not your packaging really hits that spot.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's really interesting. So people carve out different niches for themselves, and then that puts them in the best position, I believe, to help a client.
Is there anything else you want to throw out there insofar as how to start? Or
so I would say is just get yourself a good grounding in whatever it is you want to teach. That is the key, really, to have credibility, authority, and actually make an impact on other people, actually be able to see results happen for them, because essentially that's what people are paying you for. There are no guarantees in life or in any business, but you have to be able to say, I played a part, I enabled you to be able to take your business from A to T, if that's where you have the most power. So in order to be able to give someone those results and have integrity about your business, then you need to know what it is you're talking about. And that's one of the things that, for me, I was largely underestimated on in terms of my peers in the food industry, because what they didn't bank on was the amount of experience I brought from my finance background, but also the level of research that I do. For example, when I interview people, I already know all there is to know about them that they have allowed to be put out there.
Right, that's interesting.
So, and that's what I keep really talking about, do your research. Sometimes I listen to interviews where clearly the interviewer hasn't done any research.
It's funny because I want to be equally as stunned and awed as if I'm listening to it for the first time. So, albeit, I mean, I did send you some questions, but I don't, as you've noticed, I literally haven't asked you in the way I've done. I mean, for me, that's my style.
Yes.
Organically conversational. So hopefully the listeners who do mess with me, thank you very much, guys. I know you're listening now. You know, feel like they're part of it. They're just sitting down with us.
Yeah, so I think that's because of this context. Because when you're actually handing money over to someone, expecting a transformational result, you have to have enough trust and knowledge in them that they can actually do that for you.
Yeah, for sure.
Does that make sense?
100%.
So, you know, because of the community that I'm building, I want to enable them, I want to empower them with as much kind of truthful information that helps them to make decisions in their business. So it's kind of incumbent on me to make sure that the resources that I pull together have integrity.
No, 100%. And without a shadow of a doubt, I'm sure everyone listening knows that. I mean, geez, you're phenomenal. So can we get to some light-hearted fire questions that I always ask my guests? Okay, so this is going to be fun. What would be the most useless superpower?
I don't know. I really don't know what the most useless superpower, because I think that in itself is, it can't be useless if it's a superpower.
If it's a superpower, yeah. So what is the most super useless thing
you can do? I don't know.
Okay. What would you spend your last £5 on?
I've learned after everything and how seriously I take life, I'll just buy a rum and coke.
Nice. Where are you buying a rum and coke from for £5?
I don't know.
I want to know.
If I had change or if I'm not.
I want to know your supplier. And my penultimate question, I guess, is, do you see yourself as successful?
No.
You don't?
Yeah.
Why?
I think that I don't necessarily believe in success, although I use the word obviously in some contexts. I believe in fulfillment, because I think success, number one, is objective. I also think that the things that people do for success sometimes are unhealthy, and the example that sets to other people is not healthy either.
But again, so what's your definition of success? Because you are right, it is subjective, but that's what I'm asking.
I think success is almost inanimate, or it's linked to achievements, like block achievements that are very visible to other people, whereas I think fulfillment comes from within, because you could be fulfilled, but other people may not think you're successful at all, but that is success to you. So,
that's why I was asking to you, though, not what other people's definition. Because you're absolutely right. I mean, like, there was an example used, for instance, Richard Branson, he's one of the poster boys for entrepreneurs.
Yes.
But imagine if he actually didn't want to be good at entrepreneurship and building businesses, he just wanted to...
He wouldn't be...
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. For his own perspective, he's not successful, but from another perspective, he is.
I think so therefore my one is inner fulfillment, and it is happiness, and it's health.
Right.
Those things, for me...
I feel like he seems fulfilled, or, well, you're getting fulfilled.
Yeah. I'm finally moving into that space, yes, which is good. And I'm in control of that, and I'm leading that. So, from my perspective, that's definitely
then you are success.
Yeah.
And last but not least, my lady, how would you like to be remembered?
Just to be remembered as kind and loyal. Yeah. Because those are the two things that are really important to me.
Kind and loyal.
Yeah.
Well, I barely know you, and I'm very grateful that you reached out to me.
No, thank you.
And guys, I really hope that this has been an amazing episode. In fact, it has been. I'm not going to ask you hope. What I do hope for is the sound comes out all right, because we are trying a new equipment and we're in a very loud environment. But you know, guys, I always try and do the best I can for you. And if there is anything in this episode that I've overlooked or missed, please holler at me. Please do. Just say, Ade, man, why are you always slipping? Why don't you get your guest to answer X, Y, Z? Or alternatively, if you actually do what Ashanti does, but not necessarily within the niche of food, I'd also love to interview you. Wonder what your processes are like and whether they differ or whether or not it's universal. So guys, once again, thanks very much for joining me on another episode of Blacticulate. Oh no! Look what I almost forgot. I need to ask you, Ashanti, how can we find you? I'm going to have to chop this up. I won't chop it up. But no, how can we find you? And when we do, what do you want us to do?
Yeah, sure. So you can find me on Twitter at fem_foodpreneur. So that's FEM for mother _foodpreneur. Or you can come onto my website, which is femalefoodpreneurcollective.com.
Guys, I'll put that in the show notes. And when we do come onto it, what would you like us to do?
Yeah, so drop me an email if you want me to help you in any way, actually, even if it's not to do with food. If you just want some advice about how to kind of move forward, if you want to become a consultant or you are starting a business, I have a wealth of resources that I could probably email you so you can get started.
I definitely will be emailing you for sure, because I could do help. And I'm less than 24 months old as well. So, guys, once again, love you all for joining
me. Hey guys, we really appreciate you listening, and if you have any feedback, please leave it in the comment section below. Also, all the info about the guests, the links and the resources we speak about will be in the description below. And last but not least, please do get in touch if you can teach us how you do what it is you do, because after all, Blacticulate is all about empowering and upskilling the community. Thanks guys, you're the best. See you soon.